Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
We have often on this show asked for clarity and consistency when it comes to decisions made in Speedway. And that certainly seems to be happening at the moment as Phil Morris tries to drag Speedway kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Take the recent decision regarding Kings Lynn, and they cancelled a meeting due to rider unavailability. The decision, which we will surely read out shortly, seems to have all of the aforementioned characteristics: clarity and consistency, and it should be applauded, I think. However, it is a sign of the current state of British Speedway that there's also been, by some fans, worry that this might be the final straw for Kings Lynn as they try to keep Speedway viable there. It has to be said that no reaction so far by Kings Lynn themselves. Only in Speedway. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
We're fine, thank you.
Good.
We should, before we start, sort of acknowledge the fact that it's just been over 12 years now since Lee Richardson died in Poland in a league meeting. A rider that's been sorely missed. And also the death of Andrei Kudryashov in Russia at the age of 32, no age, due to cancer. So, yeah. Sorry to start on such a sombre note.
Good evening to Andrew, Jeff, Elliot, and Pete. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern.
I think it's be worth sort of recapping some of Lee Richardson's career. He was a tidy little rider, wasn't he? Good rider.
I remember when Lee Richardson, seen the first time I saw Lee Richardson ride would have been about 96, and to say he didn't have an auspicious start probably is a bit of an understatement, to be fair, because you know there was times when he barely used to finish a race. I can remember being at Brandon the one night and there was 3 riders in the race, and my mate Paul said to me he still won't score a point, and he didn't. He fell off. But he stuck. But to be fair to him, he stuck at it, and 3 years later, of course, he won the World Under 21 Championship in the Czech Republic, I think it was, in 99. Then obviously had a protracted move away from Poole to join Coventry. And Coventry was where probably he had his best days. Really formed a strong third heat leader there behind Greg Hancock and Billy Hamill in the early 2000s. And of course, always delivered for the country in the Speedway World Cup. Had a phenomenal record in the competition. I think for a large period of time, probably because he was probably the only British rider who could consistently gate.
Okay, I've got Chris here doing semaphore signals that I don't understand. Is there a problem?
Did we mention the sponsor?
No, we did not.
It's 6 shows.
I of course was going to mention my very next sentence.
Yes, of course.
Great thanks to our sponsors, so-called studios. We're so grateful, it's embarrassing.
They've recently been doing the Battle of the Bands at the studios as well, so I think it's got to semi-final stage, but they look good.
You can actually go and watch that, can't you? There's tickets for that. So
well worth going to watch. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Okay. So, where shall we start this week? Shall we start with that Kings Lynn decision?
I think we have to, don't we? Really. So, I've got the statement in front of me. So this was released on Saturday, having already been under investigation for postponing a league fixture on the 4th of May 2023. The directors of the BSB Limited reported the Kings Lynn Club to the Speedway Control Bureau for postponing the Rowe Motor Oil Premiership fixture on the 29th of May 2024, stating the reason for this postponement was lack of rider availability. The members of the SCB viewed the evidence given where Kings Lynn team were missing 2 riders, namely Tobias Muslak, who is currently absent with a Speedway injury, and Patrick Wojlow, who is competing in a national championship in Poland. With the facilities available to the Kings Lynn team and 3 Premiership teams not competing on the 9th of May, as well as a host of top-class Championship riders available, the Speedo Control Bureau supported the BSB Limited directors' view this fixture should have gone ahead. Due to the actions of the Kings Lynn promotion by postponing this fixture when facilities were available, and also being under investigation due to the fixture being postponed in May 2023, this breached the following SCB regulation. 0.17.2 breach of rules. Any proceeding or acts of prejudicial to the interests of any part of body of the ACU, SCB, BSB Limited, or any of the sports of motorcycling generally. Due to this breach, the Kings Lynn Club have been issued with the following penalty, as per the regulations: the removal of 2 Premiership Motor Oil Premiership points. No further comment will be made by the SCB on the matter.
Okay, so 2 questions really. Right decision?
Well, the rules are there. If you break them, then you should face the consequences. It shouldn't be a case of, oh, it don't matter, we'll look the other way.
Which has happened.
Well, it
has happened.
Well, it has happened. Alternative things have happened, and they haven't told us. We've only found out about a few months later, haven't we, that they've happened. So it's good to see a little bit of openness about this, and it should really act as a warning to not just the Kings Lynn, but any other club, that you can't just keep doing this. I mean, we're all sitting here on tenterhooks waiting for the announcement that this week's meeting is going to get called off. We keep saying it as a joke, and then it happens. So.
And the second question is 2 points deducted. Is that a reasonable punishment, do you think? I don't know whether there's any leeway on that, whether they had any choice on that, but not sure what the rules state. But as a Birmingham supporter, I'm quite happy.
I suppose they're trying to avoid the situation where they don't want them to go into minus points, do they? But
No.
if that's what it takes, then that should be the punishment, really.
Now, Alan Appleton says the Kings Lynn should be kicked out of the league. I don't think that's
I don't think there's
possible, is it?
well, it's not possible. I mean, it could happen, but I think we're
mean-
in a position where we're trying to save as many trackers as we can.
Exactly,
So.
and also that's not fair on the riders riding for the club, who
Yeah.
would then lose out.
Because don't forget as well, these riders are all self-employed as well.
And
So
not fair on the fans either. So I don't agree with that, and it also would put the league in a ridiculous situation.
they something really needs to happen at Kings Lynn though, because it's a great club, and the last few years have been absolute horrendous for them, haven't they? I mean, they had a nightmare season. They've had nightmare seasons in 2021, 2022 and 2023. On paper this season, I thought they looked a good side. I think a lot of people did, but it just hasn't, for whatever reason, it just hasn't kicked on.
If I don't mind putting my head above the parapet, I did sort of say I wasn't sure about Kings Lynn. But yeah. Elias Hunt says Kings Lynn haven't booked a guest for number 1 on Thursday either. Only Birmingham not riding. Ipswich have got Brennan. Monday had to ride without Lawson Musiak last night. Kings Lynn deserved the penalty after postponing fixtures, not being the first time for an unrelated weather reason. Birmingham losing there now, and Kings Lynn got no points for winning. Okay, I think we got the gist of that. Yeah, I think it's about right.
It's about upholding the integrity of the league and upholding the rules,
and which is what I think Phil Morris is trying to. When I talk about dragging Speedway and kicking and screaming, it's that sort of thing, that sort of professionalism that I think is mostly trying to get into the sport, because without that, we want to try and get into a situation where the newspapers and so on and television and whatever start taking us seriously. And the fans don't take us seriously half the time. So at the moment, but I think it's getting better on that. So yeah. The other thing that we should talk about that's happened this week is the Speedway GP.
Yeah.
Better than you was expecting.
Pleasantly surprised. I mean, as I said, I can remember the last Grand Prix there in '97. It was blooming dreadful. It really was. But I had visions of it being similar to that. But no, it was. It produced some very good racing. Obviously, it's a very narrow track, as anybody could see who watched it. It's quite a narrow track, but the riders were certainly going for it. And Very pleased for Mikkel Mikkelsen because he's another one that's had a really tough couple of years, hasn't he? And he's had a poor start to the season. With only 8 points in out of the first 2 Grand Prix, and then suddenly a win, and he's rocketed right up the standings into
Somebody else has rocketed up a little bit.
Yeah,
Mr. Smarslick hasn't won.
Hasn't been
GP.
convincing, but
he's top of the pile.
Yeah, but it's the good thing is he's not sort of disappearing off into the distance like he has done in. To be fair, he didn't really do it last season, did he?
He had
sort
a
of
poor start last season, or not a convincing start. I think would be.
But I think there's competitors all the way through that. I mean, Jack Holder's obviously, I think, getting the first win of his career helped in the opening round in Croatia. Jason Dawes obviously had I think probably just ran out of steam a little bit on Saturday. In the end, Robert Lambert, surely a Grand Prix win can't be too far away from him, but it's just that sort of the final stage of the meeting where he just can't make that step up, can he?
I mean, from a British point of view, not bad.
No, I mean, well, as I said last week, I mean, Robert Lambert is the top Brit now. There's I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. I mean, he's standing in the series. He's 4th at the moment on 41. Dan Bewley's been a bit hit and miss so far in the Grand Prix. Obviously, he had his the last 2 Grand Prix have been a little bit better, but not quite able to make the step up into a final. It seems to be the case with Dan Bewley, doesn't it? That he either gets in when he gets to the semi-finals. If he gets to the final, he wins it.
He wins the thing. Yeah. It's not a bad record to have.
Yeah, but it's just getting into the finals that's been the problem for him. So the big surprise really for me so far has probably been Freddie Lindgren. Had such a high last season. At one point looked like he might win the championship after the issue obviously with Smarslick's race suit. Although to be fair to him, he did say it would have probably been a bit of a mocker if he had won it on that instance. But again, 16 points in the first Grand Prix without being sort of muddled his way through into that final. Then 7 points in Warsaw and only 3 last weekend in Germany. So
not exactly consistent.
It's a little bit inconsistent. You just wonder with Freddie whether maybe he's probably missed his best chance. I've always felt that Freddie was good enough to be world champion, but it's probably just a case of being in the right place but at the wrong time.
Yeah. I think the COVID years didn't help.
Yeah, obviously he suffered badly with that, with long COVID. So Kai Hülkenberg was a little bit of a disappointment, I thought as well, because I've had a good start in the first 2 Grand Prix. You thought he would be, he'd be a bit of a real spoiler at Landshut, but just 5 points for him, and he's dropped right down to 11th.
I guess we're failing to mention at the moment what's probably the biggest disappointment that we hoped was going to kick on this year after having spent a really good recharging year in British Speedway last year.
Yeah,
and that's Ty Woffington, and
again poor again.
Just not quick.
Just he comes occasionally in a race that he comes alive. He won one race on Saturday. Had a good start to the GP in Warsaw as well, didn't he? He was winning the second in his first race. And you think he could be onto something here, and then just doesn't get anywhere. I mean,
very un-Ty Woffington.
Yeah. I just wonder with Ty whether maybe now there's a lot of other things going on in his life, and that maybe. I was a little bit surprised that he got the pick, to be honest.
Given that there's 2 other Brits.
Given there's 2 other Brits, and given, as I said, hasn't won a Grand Prix now for nearly 6 years. 2018 was the last time, obviously, that was when he won the last World Championship.
That sort of comes on to what Duncan Pemberton's asking. He says the thing that gets my goat with the GP is that current GP riders can enter the GP Challenge Series. If you can't make the top 8, you should miss a season. Thoughts?
I do agree with that. There's nothing to stop them from doing it, and of course they will keep doing it because it's obviously a safety net to make sure they get back in for the following season. But I think I would like to see the qualifying system sort of rejigged a little bit. I think we've had three very enjoyable Grand Prix so far. The first one, I mean, a lot of people thought the first one was poor. I quite enjoyed the first one, and certainly Warsaw has been, as a temporary track, has generally produced very, very good racing.
And what about this as an idea? The bottom 8 don't get, or whatever it is now, don't make it back into the GP wildcards or anything. None of that comes. But that the first GP meeting of the next season isn't actually a Grand Prix, but the qualifier. So the people that have made it through to get to the qualifier against the bottom 8 or whatever that's that number you decide it to be, from the GPs. So there's like a race off. So that's the way that they can get in, but they've got to race against the guys that want their place.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not too dissimilar to what was happening in the early days of the GP, because obviously those days the top 8 got through automatically. Then the next, I think it was 8 or 7, went into the Grand Prix Challenge against the top 8 riders throughout the qualifying rounds, and then those 8 riders had to sort of qualify to get back in the following year. So I think there's a few things that have to be done to sort of rejig it, sort of re-enthusiase it a little bit, because I want to see the best 16 riders in it at the end of the day. If all 16 the top 16 riders are all Polish, so be it.
Probably are. We've got a few comments to get through. Shall we? We can come back to the GP in a minute. Lots about can you go a little bit higher? I think. Okay, so Barry Young says, "I will be surprised if we are open next year unless a new promoter comes in." He's talking about Kings Lynn, of course. I mean, I'm hearing that quite a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like listening to rumours like that because you never know, but who knows? We've read Duncan Pemberton's. Craig Smee, it's a shame about Kings Lynn. I visited this stadium for the first time earlier this season, and it's a lovely part of the country and a great setup. Shame it doesn't seem to be run correctly. That's not something that you could have said about Kings Lynn in the not even distant past. I mean, fairly, when Birmingham came
back they were the top side, and there were some great battles between. There was always a bit of needle as well between Birmingham and Kings Lynn as well.
So that's sad to,
and
even
going back years, test matches and things like that. We've seen some great events at Kings Lynn. Kings Lynn on its day is a fabulous racetrack, but it seems to have sort of lost a lot of its sparkle over the last few seasons, which is a shame.
Craig Smee is an interesting comment and possibly right. On current international form, I don't think Ty Woffington gets in the Speedway of Nations team. It's Shuley, Lambert and Bewley.
With Woffington as reserve.
I think isn't the reserve got to be a under 21 or something? Somebody will correct me.
You might be right. Unless they've changed the rules.
Because that's why they did what they did with Bewley. Because he can't do that now, can he? I mean, but I think possibly Leon Flint would.
Yeah, but I think he's right. Craig, on current form, you don't get in.
No. I wouldn't like to be the one that has to make that choice, to be honest.
To be fair to Ty, I think he's the sort of guy who, if he didn't feel he was in form, I think he would support the move. Because I think he's been very, very supportive certainly of Rob Painter since his organisation took over the running of the national team.
They scrapped that in the Speedway Nations. I've just been told by Simon Corbett. Thank you, Simon.
Lawrence has just backed it up as well. So. Okay.
Talking about Lawrence, he's popped up with Tom Brennan's just missed out on qualifying for the GP Challenge.
Yeah. Did well.
Close.
And Leon Flynn did well as well, didn't he?
Leon Flynn did well.
Points as well. So.
Of course, it does mean that Tom will be first reserve, so if anybody drops out, he's first one in.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not. I mean, we don't have people don't get injured and so on, but this is Speedway. And. Yeah, everybody's telling me now that the under-21 rule isn't a thing now. So there you go. I got it wrong again, guys. I think got it wrong again.
Can you just scroll up to Ben's comment about Kings Lynn? I think that was there.
Yeah. The thing with Kings Lynn, the stadium is safe as houses and has disappeared. Oh, there you are. Due to the massive banger racing crowds. So even if the Speedway takes a hiatus, I guess the door will always remain open.
I've never been to Kings Lynn. It's one of the few tracks in the top league I've not been. Okay. There's only Kings Lynn and Ipswich are the only two clubs in Oxford that I haven't been to.
It's a nice track.
It's in, from what I know, it's in a pretty good location because it's right in the middle of an industrial estate, so there's nobody there to interrupt with the noise. and there's a lot of parking around there as well. But so Norfolk, obviously I've been to Norfolk, obviously a lovely part of the country, and
I've been to King's Lynn 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I like the drive there as well. So
it's just a shame it's so far away, isn't it? It's a long old drive, certainly from around here over to King's Lynn. So
There's sort of no other way to get there.
Yeah.
As well.
yeah,
unless you
but
buy a
if it's-
helicopter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Mike's helicopter.
yeah, my mythical invisible helicopter. That one. Yeah. Okay, so we caught up on all those comments. You still feel it's Spartak Smarslick's the one to beat,
I think so.
don't you?
Yeah, I think he just seems to be able to do the bare minimum at the moment, but do enough to keep his head above the water.
And he seems full of confidence in him. When you hear him talk, he's really confident. Nothing seems to. He feels he's the best rider.
Yeah,
So, probably because
be interesting to see what sort of how he's sort of coping really with the pressure, because obviously if he wins it this year, he would obviously equal Tony Rickardson's record of GP titles, and obviously would have to get one more to equal the record that Rickardson shares with Major for World Championships overall. So it's a shame really that obviously Ivan Major's not around to see, because you'd love to get his opinion on Bartos Smarslick, because I remember when Rickardson was getting close to his record, he seemed to be quite dismissive of him, to be fair, although I think a lot of that was probably didn't really like the fact that somebody else was closing in on
always the
equaling his
competitor.
record.
Always.
That's probably a part of what made Major what the rider he was, really, wasn't it? That sort of maybe ego side of it a little bit.
Yeah, I think I always remember a conversation with him. I can't remember where I heard it or whether I read it, but somebody was saying, something about good racers always leave room for people to race, and he went, "No, you don't leave room for people to race." Sort of said it all. Why not get Ben Clifton on for 15 minutes to update us on his debut season as Kent Kings team manager? Oh, if you want to do that, Ben, you come on, mate.
Anytime.
Final ring in a minute, wouldn't it?
Elliot Hunt says Joe Thompson
As rider of the week.
as rider of the week. Is that okay?
Yeah.
He has done
They're
well
both
this
doing,
year.
they're both doing quite well, aren't they? Joe's obviously, I think, has obviously had the sort of seems to be making the
the biggest
at the
ride.
moment, yeah.
And Joe rides for who? Sorry.
Which team's it? Oh, come on. Yeah, come on. Answers out on a postcard.
Forgotten now.
Oh, come on, you've let me down.
No, I didn't. I was watching.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Simon's just said Ben Cook. Yeah, Ben Cook's had a good start to the season.
Well, I'm going to say Michael Mickelson.
I
That's what I think.
was going to say him as well. To be fair, I think obviously you can't sort of get any better than winning a Grand Prix, can you? So, and as I say, as we said, he's had a tough few years, hasn't he? So,
Okay. Keep them coming anyway. Keep your nominations.
Okay, so Ben Clifton says, I know there are contracts in place for Speedway of Nations, but after return to the full World Cup format last year, I can't help be a bit gutted to return to the Speedway of Nations this year. For me, the World Cup has extra prestige. I agree. I think it's got even more prestige by only being every.
Yeah.
Is it 3 years they do it, or 4 years, whatever
3
it
years.
is?
Yeah.
Every 3 years, I think that gives it more prestige.
yeah.
Um,
Speedway Nations is
and makes it more exciting.
Yeah, Speedway Nations is something different, isn't it? And I know that the Poles don't like it because they can't win it. So can't seem to win it. So that sort of negates the pole. I think that's one of the reasons.
of course, he rides for Leicester.
Yeah,
Plymouth and Leicester.
Yeah, we should talk about Plymouth actually, because
What a result.
Everybody's been writing them off, but they've had a good start. They did well at Berwick as well. I think they only lost to Berwick by 6, and Berwick have been flying.
Yeah,
so far
top of the
this
league.
season, so they've had a good start. So yeah, so everybody's, as I say, everybody's been writing them off. They had a great win at Edinburgh, and they've been getting some good results at home as well. So. I don't think it's what they need really. They've had a tough couple of years, haven't they? They had a lot of problems in the winter with the track.
Yep.
But
I mean, it did when I had to look at it twice.
yeah,
And we should mention Kings Lynn at Bellevue.
they did well. Yeah, lost by 6, I think it was.
points,
Yeah,
I
so
think, yeah. Would never have picked that. I mean, you last week said everybody's going to go to Bellevue and lose by tons.
yeah,
of course,
I'm not
Bellevue
the only
and
one who's
King-
been saying that. To be
Yeah,
fair.
well, no, I mean, but I suppose the only sort of thing that might temper that is that Kingsley is a similar sort of track as
Yeah.
Bellevue,
I don't
big
think it's
and
quite
fast.
as fast. I
No,
think it's
not-
quite as fast as Bellevue is, to be fair.
So Ben Clifton's using the feeble excuse of not coming on by saying it's his wedding on Friday. Wow, get your priorities right, for God's
absolutely.
There's a
sake.
vestry you can slip into for 5 minutes, isn't there?
Don't do it.
No, all joking aside, Ben, congratulations.
Well,
Have a
yeah.
good one. Have a good one.
Yeah. Don't do it.
And I know how you feel. I really do, because I'm in the middle of wedding preparations myself, and it's a pain in the bum.
Yeah, see what Duncan's put there.
Can we all talk Bennett marriage?
I would talk anyway.
Yeah.
Get a dog.
Is anybody else noticing reduced crowds because of price, as most stadium prices are similar? Other people saying individual club streaming is killing the sport, as for £12.99 a stream, one person and 7 of his mates can watch it in the comfort of their own home.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think Birmingham's crowds have been up. That's all I can go by.
Yeah, I think they have been up. I think they need to sort of make sure that they keep winning and being competitive to make sure that they stay, because that's always been the issue with
Always been
Birmingham.
the
If they have a
issue,
few
yeah.
bad results, it sort of
Here we
knocks
go again.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's such a shame that we haven't had any meetings since that.
that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
That's the downside really going up into this league, is the fact that there's not the regular fix of meetings that there has been in the championship. So
Ben Clefton says, I'd like to have 7 mates to share a stream with.
yeah, this is I suppose this is one of the counter arguments against streaming matches, isn't it? Although I think. Haven't some clubs got something in where you can't use it if you're within a certain distance of the stadium?
I think some did. I'm not sure whether that's, but it doesn't stop you. I mean, I hadn't considered this, but what they're saying is, okay, you and me didn't want to go to Birmingham because you could come to my house and I could just pay for one stream and 2 of us watch.
Yeah.
I suppose that is a danger. I don't think it happens. Don't think it happens.
Strange, I never even thought of it as that.
Yeah.
Really? But £12.99, that's...
I imagine the clubs will be looking at it closely.
Yeah.
I don't imagine that they would be. And it's like, I mean, for instance, I know that Birmingham cannot stream all of their meetings
No, they can't.
because if Eurosport are broadcasting,
Even if they're not broadcasting at Birmingham,
no,
I don't think they
Yeah,
can.
no, they can't. If Eurosport are broadcasting on a Monday night, we're not allowed to stream our meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben says Edinburgh TV used to have a geo-lock on their streams. Not sure anybody else does, though.
And they're easy to get past. To be honest, I could do that,
Yeah.
and I'm not no whiz. Lawrence Rogers says our stats on Brummie's TV have not shown many locals streaming it.
Yeah, it's useful for away fans, isn't it? You know, if you know, it's on the Monday night, you want to travel all the way up to Birmingham, or when it's easy, just after a long day at work, just to sit in your sofa and just streaming on your TV.
It's not the same though.
No, it's not the same. You know,
Like when I went to Birmingham the last match, which was the Bellevue match,
Yeah.
people were coming and saying, "Oh, the stream's doing well. We even had somebody from Greece watching it."
yeah.
Well, that was me, because I was in Greece at the time. But yeah, Craig Smith says, "I like the streams, especially for away meetings I can't get to," and I think that's key. For
Streaming is the way forward, I think. You know, and at the end of the day, I think a lot of these clubs, it is sort of revenue from. It is revenue anyway that they get from streams anyway. So,
Pete, you're too late with your comment, mate.
yeah.
So okay,
Caught up again.
there's been some interesting results actually this week.
Yep.
And I don't think the Plymouth match, anybody on the predictions lead,
Nobody's got that one.
nobody's
Nobody
got that one.
No.
And I think we all gave it a fairly hefty win for Edinburgh, didn't we?
Yeah.
So what the hell do we know?
Wasn't I close then?
Not particularly. So,
No.
There was one that you got the wrong, that what we would have said was the wrong way around,
Oh, right.
and you went, "Oh, I got that one wrong," then, but I don't think that was it.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Ben Clifton says, now the new National League is getting underway, it seems glaringly obvious that young Brits are getting less and less track time. These boys need to be riding more than once a fortnight. But I don't a lot of them get track time now in after meetings now, because that's one of the things, particularly in the Premiership, that they said they've got to do. Have
Second half,
a proper second half with these sort of riders, either in some sort of, like we've got the what's the league called that we're in now?
Champion Premiership.
No, not that one.
No, MDL.
The MDL. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. On all that sort of stuff going on. So I don't know.
I bought a piece of MDL the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Just go away. Just go.
Yeah, but again,
Workington, Plymouth are the ones buggering people's predictions up. Yeah. And Lawrence says our MDL gives youngsters track time. I mean, that's something that Lawrence in particular has always done.
advocated, but as I say, I mean, I think my issue as well really is the fact that at one stage the National League was arguably the strongest of the three leagues. It was the most stable one, but in recent
that was
seasons,
when Birmingham was in it, Birmingham
was in it, Cradley was in it, Eastbourne was in it,
yeah.
Coventry were in it, of course, for a period of time as well. But I mean, I'm looking at some of the National League scores now, and you've got Leicester. Their how matches so far they've scored 53, 56, 55, 63. Oxford has scored a 51 and the 55 in their home meeting. It's they're big. They're big wins, and it's if a rider's going travelling at that age and just sort of only picking up ones and twos every week, it's your perseverance, yes, but to an extent it's going to get a little bit demoralising if it's happening again and again and again and again.
There needs to be more joined up thinking between the three leagues.
Yeah,
I think.
it's always felt. I mean, I know you said this when Birmingham were in the National League. It always felt like the National League was just a bit of an afterthought. We'll deal with that later.
Yes, yeah.
So.
I think this is a little bit what Phil Morris is trying to do with the making sure they have the second halves for that calibre of rider. I don't know. Bellevue Colts have rode twice, then had a 7-week gap. How's that constructive for the development of riders?
Yeah.
If the riders themselves, if that's all they're riding, then it's not. But I presume they've got other opportunities to ride at other tracks for different sort of events and things. I don't know.
They've only had one league
It's
match.
not great.
They've only had one home league match this season, Bellevue, and we're nearly at the end of May.
Yeah.
So, admittedly, there's not that many teams in the National League, but I think something needs to be sort of looked at with the fixture list as well to make it a bit more consistent, because you can't be having many clubs going weeks without any home fixtures, because the problem is people get out of the habit of going then, don't they?
That's the problem. That is the problem. Ben Clifton said the moment the BSBA forced Cradley out by banning nomadic clubs, that's when the National League started to slide, along with losing teams like Buxton. Say what you like about Cradley and their fans, and I will, but they made every club at that level good money. I mean, that is a very
Buxton was
fair point.
Buxton was a I mean, obviously Buxton was a fairly unique place, wasn't it? And, I mean, and anybody who went there, probably the windiest place on
Speedway on a hill.
No, I think a lot of the riders who went there for the first time got a bit perplexed by it, because they wondered why they were picking up speed
going, yes,
and usually going down a hill. But Buxton was one of those clubs really. They could develop a rider, over a period of a couple of years, and then move them, and then they would go on to another club and get a profit for them. But of course, that was and I remember the late Graham Drury came on the show, and he was scathing about the fact that NDL clubs weren't allowed to have their own assets.
Yeah,
because then you lose. That was what a club like Buxton, survived on. I mean, Buxton were a club that probably didn't have too many home fans because it was pretty much in the middle of nowhere. They sort of benefited from Birmingham going there, Coventry going there, Cradley going there, because they took loads of fans.
Yeah, and Eastbourne.
Yeah.
Just to interject, regarding Grand Jury, I've uploaded quite a few clips as well.
Okay.
Including interviews from your son.
Okay.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
That's on our YouTube channel, by the way.
Okay. I'll check that out myself. Were your thoughts on the nomadic teams and that not being allowed? I never saw the point. I never understood. It was never explained why they did it. They just did it. Again, this consistency and this clarity was not there.
This was before Phil Morris came on board, wasn't it? So,
I mean, Phil Morris would have nothing to do with the National League anyway.
Yeah. It was disappointing because it sort of felt like you were biting you were sort of cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I didn't understand that.
You know, I mean, Cridley obviously would have obviously folded anyway because of course Wolves not running this year.
They might have continued at Birmingham, of course. You know,
I don't think they were very keen on the idea of going back to Birmingham, were they? I think they were from. You know, I don't really want to sort of speculate too much, but I think there were issues really that a lot of people had with between the two clubs, really.
Yeah, well, there's always going to be issues. It was Cradley.
Yeah.
But I would love to see them back. They're good for the sport. It's good for British Speedway to have that famous team back. I don't see how at the moment because Cradley Council don't give a.
Dudley Cat. Well,
yeah, I don't know how to say that without being rude.
I think the problem Cradley have got now. I mean, it's 30 years. I think it's 29 years since Dudley Wood closed. It's a long time, and you just wonder now whether it's too far back in the past.
People said that about Birmingham, of course.
21 years isn't quite the same as 29 years. To be fair, you know that's. I mean, mind you, Leicester. How long were Leicester out for? I think Leicester closed '83. They didn't come back till 2011. So there's still a fan base at Cradley, but it's just again, it's finding your sight. But you know, it'd be great if they could get back, and obviously even better, it'd be great if we could get back as well. So, shall
we catch up with a few more of the comments that come in thick and fast?
I think there's a couple of I'm not sure whether you saw that one.
There was one about so you can get a book. I think I'll see if I can remember it. At Buxton, you can get hypothermia and sunburn on the same afternoon. Which, Ben Cook, Rider of the Week, he's getting double figures regularly at NSS, getting better weekly. He is coming on,
well,
isn't he?
He was making a lot of progress when he was at Peterborough last season as well, which was a track that would have suited him.
Pete Clark said, I was stood ankle deep in snow while applying suntan lotion. That was Buxton. Are Cradley still looking for land to build a track?
There was something in the press at the end of last season but that seems to have gone. I mean, obviously there was a site that they were looking at, but I think circumstances sort of blocked that. Yeah.
Anything happening on the Wolves Council front?
Absolutely no idea.
No.
All I know is that CVS is looking at two potential sites. As far as I'm aware, they are both greenbelt land, which immediately causes a problem. I know he's desperate to get back for next year, but I think if it's going to be next year, something's going to have to happen very quickly for it to be next year. It may well be that it's going to take a year, maybe even 2 years. I think there's a bit more realism now. I think there was a lot of sort of tub thumping really from CVS at the end of last season. You know, we'll definitely be back in. Well, he didn't say definitely, but he said, you know, we're determined to be back for 2025, but it's got to be. It's got to be very, very soon. You know, it was interesting as well, the article in the Express and Star a few weeks ago. I don't know whether anybody's seen it, about the fact that the two people that were primarily responsible for the decision to kick us out of Monmouth have since left. And that Ensign are having quite a few monetary issues from what I gather as well. The only thing with the article, I think, is that it seemed to be sort of insinuating that stranger things have happened, and Ensign going back to CVS and asking him to come back. There's absolutely no prospect whatsoever of Wolves getting back into Monmouth. If anybody's seen any photographs of the place, I mean, the track's not there now.
No.
You can just about see the shape of it, but it just looks a mess, to be honest.
There must be sad.
I don't really want to see the photographs of it, to be honest, but
I can understand that. Do you want to take it up a little bit? So there was a few that we didn't see there. Okay, so the National League fixtures, none now until June the 7th. Total 3-week break for the whole league. Clubs only have 5 home meetings, doesn't help. Very spread out fixture list. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with anything.
Like I just said, you know, clubs need to have a consistent level of fixtures. You know, It's no good having a couple of meetings, then a 5-week break, then one meeting, then another 3 or 4 week break.
Dave Twine says, thing is that some tracks have not got dates to fit junior racing in. Take Oxford. Well, they're supposed to fit the junior racing in the second half as part. So in the Premiership, that's what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
If people are telling me that that's not happening.
And Oxford, to be fair, Oxford haven't really got a lot of room to manoeuvre because they're running in the 3 leagues. So.
Well, I mean, so they are supporting junior league racing in that way as well.
People are keeping me busy tonight, aren't they?
Yes,
Okay.
can you get back up? Okay, no, we've gone. Yeah, I've done it.
Craig's-
It's gone quiet on the Coventry front as well. People are saying,
I think a lot of that is sort of dependent on Brandon Estates' next move, isn't it? Because obviously the appeal's been turned down, but that doesn't mean they're not going to put another application in. So
no.
I think at the end of
about
the
this one as well.
Did anyone ever find out about this new track Phil Morris spoke about at the Brandon Appeal? I think the short answer is no.
No, I know that he did speak about.
There's been lots of speculation about it. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the speculation seemed to be surrounding Bradford, but I just can't see Bradford ever staging Speedway again.
Reginald Barker says Kings Lynn only 2-point deduction is a poor decision.
Yeah, we discussed that earlier, didn't we?
I'm
So.
not sure I agree, but at least it's a decision. At least it was done with clarity. It was done with speed, and it was done, with consistency. So I think that's the most important thing about the whole thing for me, anyway. Interesting point. 1 or 2 rain-offs at Oxford would cause a load of problems for the 3 leagues.
Yeah. I think they need to use. I think they're part of their deal with the landlords is they've got to get the dates in at the stadium. So I suppose obviously if they didn't feel they had enough dates, then they have to run National League as well.
Yeah. Have you seen the Peterborough campaign? It seems they're betting to get back at the showground rather than try and find an alternative site. It seems like a losing battle for them, in my opinion. They're trying to go down the same route as Coventry campaign, but I feel it's a totally different scenario. I had heard something about this.
Yeah, as far as I know, they still haven't had the go ahead for to construct on the showground. Yes. I say it's good that they're doing all this battling and campaigning. That really they should have been doing this while it was still there. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel
like they just threw in the towel in, didn't they? But
we said that at the time. Simon Corbett says, "I'm afraid once you're gone, it's a long way back." That's true, but it's not impossible.
Not impossible, but sometimes it can feel like it's going to be impossible, doesn't it? So.
I mean, you have to say Birmingham is going through its longest ever. If you don't count the break that we had when we lost in the Elite League and we folded that.
Yeah.
But although we did fold that year, we then came back the next year. So it's continuous in that sense. This is the longest period of continuous speedway we've ever had.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, I looked at it the other day. I thought, okay. So. Yeah, it is a long way back, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, I've found that this year. Really, it's been I've enjoyed going to my Speedway at Birmingham, but it's not really the same as.
Well, it's never going to be, is it?
Never going to be. So, and as Craig said, Oxford's a good example. They for a long time it looked like that was lost. But they plugged
Workington
away, and they got Workington as well. Workington admittedly weren't out for that many years, whether they were only out for 3 or 4 years. And I suppose they were lucky that they had another site that they could go to that wasn't too far away from Derwent Park.
Rich Thomas says apparently the track was Brayfield stock car track. I have to add allegedly there because we don't know.
But he was never going to tell you where it was. He was never going to give you the coordinates for it, to be fair. So.
Maybe we should get him on the show.
Well, he's been on before, hasn't he?
He has been on before. I might have a chat with him. I've got his number, so... I've got his number, I've just realised. And I'm not giving it out to anybody, so stop asking.
I was asking.
Yeah.
I think we ought to get on with our...
Prediction League, yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes. I mean, there was not a lot of movement last week, I believe. Have we got the... let's have a look. I quite like that there wasn't a lot of movement because I'm in my best ever position.
You are?
No, I think you dropped down a place, actually.
So you're there.
I'm equal 9th.
Yeah, pretty good.
I'm happy with that.
22nd. But I'm only 4
What's with this Buck dynasty at the top?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Look at what's going on there.
Right, so... Yeah.
So we've got Simon at the top, then Brian Book, Rich Thomas, Matt Book, Duncan Pemberton, Dave Twine, Elliot Hunt, John Bird, and Gordon Gamrell. That's as far as I'm going to go. I'm not going to mention the next one.
Okay. And where's
It's
Mr. Chris Brown?
I'm
22. 22.
Slowly climbing up, I think. So.
4 points behind you, so I'm happy with that.
Okay. We shall see.
Have no fear, that 100 quid's safe.
What? Craig Smith says, get Phil Morris on, but I think we'd need a show longer than an hour. I doubt it. I'm being able to date it.
How long it was in during COVID that he was on last time, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Because I wasn't there that night, I don't think. Because that was when my dad was ill, so...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rings a bell, actually.
Yeah. But I think that was more to talk about the GPs, wasn't it?
Right, Pete Clark wants to know, how does the points work? I'm not scoring very many.
You have to get the
Right.
point. You have to get
So-
it right.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing.
If you get the exact score right, you get 2 points, and then it turns green on the little chart, which, as you can see, nobody got one right
Nobody
last
got
week.
green.
If you get the right result, then it's 1 point, and you get a yellow.
And that big block of red there,
Means
I
you
guess,
don't get-
is Edinburgh versus Plymouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody got that one. Okay.
Okie dokie.
Let's get on with it then. Right, let's got our fixtures in front
Let's
of me here.
get to it.
I
So
believe it's me to start this week.
So
isn't
we
it?
will start the BSN series tomorrow. South Coast Derby, Poole against Plymouth.
I mean, okay, Poole by 10 points. Can lightning strike twice?
I'll say Poole by 14.
I'll go in the middle. Ball for 12 by 12.
Okay. Next up, we've got the East Anglia Derby, Kings Lynn against Ipswich. And if you don't get a point if you say it's postponed either.
So damn it.
Ipswich by 12.
Postpone. Ipswich by 6.
Okay. Do you know what? I think... no, I'm actually going to say Ipswich by 14. I talked myself out of a silly decision there.
Yeah, just to point out for Duncan, it's you get a mug. I think if you
Yes.
win there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a T-shirt.
You get called a mug.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it usually goes to Simon, doesn't it? So
Well, I've got a mouse mats now as well. Mouse
All right.
mats, there we go. And coasters.
Matthew Harmel, just comfortable win by Ipswich, doesn't put you on the league. You need to give us a score.
okay. Right. Next up, also in the Premiership, Oxford against Bellevue.
Oh, it's up to me, isn't it?
That's a tricky one. That is.
I'm going to go Bellevue by 4.
Oxford by 4.
Ah,
also.
oh, yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
You weren't quick enough.
Oxford, did you just let me have time
You
to
just had
think?
to say
I'm
that,
an old man.
Yeah.
Think.
Oxford by 2.
Okay.
And the next one?
Sheffield against Leicester.
Oh, that'll be a nice...
Mike.
yeah. I'm going to say Sheffield by 8.
Sheffield by 8 as well.
Sheffield by 12.
Okay.
Okay. Next in the Championship on Friday, it's Glasgow against Redcar.
Oh, that'll be tasty.
Yeah.
Sure.
Glasgow by 6. I'll say.
I'll go Glasgow by 10.
Glasgow by 8. Might split the difference.
Okay. Next up, also in the Championship on Friday, Edinburgh against Scunthorpe.
That's up to you, Chris.
Edinburgh by 4.
I think Edinburgh will have a bit of a reaction. So I'm going to say Edinburgh by 10.
I'm going to steal your thunder. Draw.
Ah. Okay.
Okay, let's move on then to Saturday afternoon. It is Workington against Oxford in the Championship.
Okay, that's up to me. Workington by 6.
Workington by 2.
Workington by 8.
Okay. Also on Saturday night, the return in the BSN series, Plymouth against Poole.
That's up to you, Matt.
I'll say Poole by 4.
I'll go Poole by 2.
I'm going to say Plymouth by 2.
Okay. Then on Monday night, we've got the War of the Roses at the NSS, Bellevue against Sheffield.
That's up to you.
Bellevue by 4.
I'll go Bellevue
Bellevue by 4.
Okay, also on Monday, Birmingham against Ipswich.
Holy cow.
Always the easiest one to predict.
I don't want to say anything. Draw.
Super,
There you go.
would you take a super heat? With Emil and Doyley?
No, obviously Super Hit we're going to lose, but
With Emil and Doyley in this night, so... But hopefully there'll be a good few there, obviously, to see, you know. I mean, if you think back to when Seifert last round at Perry Bar with Coventry, and the place was
Wow.
rammed, wasn't it?
yeah,
So,
and his first race was unbelievable.
yeah, he did like the track, didn't he? So,
He did like
But
the
anyway, I will go for Ipswich by 6.
Matthew Harmel's gone Ipswich by 15.
Well, you can get a 15 points.
You can get
away,
15,
if you get a,
but that's a lot.
yeah.
I'll go Ipswich by 12.
Okay,
Okay, and finally, in the Premiership, Leicester against Oxford.
that's up to Lee.
Leicester by 6.
I'll go Leicester by 4.
Leicester by 10.
That concludes.
Yep, so get your scores on the posted up, and then we'll put them on the league table.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for taking part, everybody.
I think this has been the best so far, best prediction league ever. Mainly because I've never been that high.
Still a bit of time to go.
Yeah, for me to sink, is that what you're saying?
Well, you never
Yeah.
know, do you?
I'm pretty confident Simon will win again.
Yeah, I think we need to start thinking about a handicap system.
Yeah.
Can we find 115 charges on
Poke
him?
his eyes out?
Can we find 115 charges on him? Oh, I shouldn't say that, should I? We're not allowed to say that in the...
Okay. I thought it was 151.
Not on. How are we going with the Ride of the Week? Who did we set the most votes? So
Well, I think Ben Cook's probably.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ben
Cook,
Cook.
yeah.
We obviously, us two went for Michael Mickelson, didn't we? So,
Ben Cook's had quite. Yeah.
But well, that's up to you to collate.
Yep, I'll have a look later.
yeah, we'll send the winner of the trophy, obviously, don't worry. So,
I predict I won't score many this week as Pete Clark.
Does he get a point for that if he's right? Right. Well, it's been an interesting week, I think, with the GP, a brand new winner. We've got this decision with Kings Lynn. We've got teams like Plymouth giving teams like Birmingham hope, and Workington.
yep.
It's a funny old game, this Speedway.
You know, I mean, Berry Cobb and Workington have made a big impression, haven't they, in the championship so far? They're both tied at the top with. So again, this sort of highlights what I've said with the run of fixtures. Berwick have had 4 matches, Workington have had 5, Poole have had 2, Oxford have had 1, Scunthorpe have had 1, Plymouth have had 3. So
You got to say Poole's the standout team, really. I think.
I think so. Yeah, Glasgow haven't had a great start, have they? Either really. I mean, I fancied Redcar to do well, but they've had a poor start as well. Obviously, they've lost all 4 of their matches so far, and Edinburgh,
Which is a
obviously-
big surprise to me.
And Edinburgh are obviously rock bottom as well. I just worry with Edinburgh really because we don't know what their future holds either.
No.
With the,
Surprise team of the season so far? I know it's early days.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Workington have been a bit of a surprise as well. I know they've got a lot of experience at the top end of their side. Yeah, but I think you'd have to probably say Plymouth. They've done okay so far. You know, they've certainly exceeded my expectations. But it's
We should mention Jack Smith signing for Glasgow,
Yep.
as Dave Twine has pointed out. A rider that I felt was going to kick on and go somewhere.
never did he really? I think he had a lot of issues away from the track, didn't he, though, Jack? So.
And Matthew Harmel says, what do you think about the state of British Speedway? It's a shame about southern tracks going like Rye House and Lakeside. Nearest track to me is Oxford, which is 1 hour 40 minutes. Oh,
The southern, that southeast area used to be a real hotbed for speed. Same as
Same
the
as
Midlands
Midlands,
did, you
yeah.
know. And now, obviously, in the Midlands, we've only got Birmingham and Leicester, and obviously in the southeast is completely wiped out now, isn't it? So
yeah, it's not.
I know there's obviously campaigns to try and stop Rye House from going. Lakeside, I think, are still looking for a site as well.
I've been hearing stuff about
yeah.
that, yeah.
No, it's a shame. You know, a lot of these areas where there was a track near you. You know, that was one of the taglines, wasn't it, for many years?
Yeah.
There's a track near you, and that seems to be less and less the case in recent times, doesn't it? So,
Well, one track in the West Midlands.
one track in the East
One
Midlands.
more track in the East Midlands, yeah.
Yeah.
How many tracks down in South now? You've got Poole and you've got Plymouth.
Yeah.
That's it. Scotland seems to be the place to be. They've got
Scotland, Edinburgh, Glasgow,
Redcar.
Bury.
You could possibly count
Suppose
in there.
if you've been Kent.
I said Redcar.
I thought you said Kent.
I said Redcar. You can count in there.
The map's the other way. So,
Geography wasn't his.
I suppose you could say Workington as well if you're pushing it, wouldn't you? Because it's obviously just south of the border.
And Berwick's well, on the border,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Pete Clark says, "Is that the last we hear of Lee Complin?" I would think so.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, he been a naughty boy. Some substance or other, we don't really know what.
Who's the Australian at Workington? Who's the one to watch? Says Simon Corbett. Oh.
And you're cheating now. You're
Sure,
googling to
I'm
find
cheating,
you to find out. Okay.
No, I'm not using Google. Certainly wouldn't use that.
Can't be his brain.
Mm.
Yeah.
The loss of Peterborough, which is a massive shame. Unbelievable. Loved that track. Great little racetrack. Big racetrack, I should say. But you look back at the tracks that when I used to go Speedway in the 70s and 80s, there was 2 leagues and there was more teams in the first league than we've got in all 3 of the leagues now. Says it all, doesn't it, really?
It does.
So how many were in the top?
I think
league?
Tate Zisk is the rider, by the way. Just come to
Okay.
myself.
Who, sorry?
Tate Zisk
Okay.
is the Australian rider.
There was something like 25 to 30
yeah, averaging
teams.
7, yeah, averaging just under 8 points a meeting, so it's a good start for him.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, what's the biggest biggest crowd you've ever been in? Not GPs.
British final,
Oh, okay.
1982, I think it was.
Where was that?
Coventry.
Oh, Coventry.
Yeah, Brandon, absolutely heaving. When Andy Graham won, of course.
Yeah.
Um,
One of my early amazing awards was a derby against Cradley, and I believe there was about 10,000 in the stadium.
Right, and there was a few derbies, Birmingham versus Cradley, that were absolutely humming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Duncan Pemberton there, 130,000 inside Katowice in '76.
130,000.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Right, well, gosh,
Yeah,
we're there. We've got a surprise for people next week. Talking,
You're not coming.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
basically.
Yeah, you do know what I'm talking about. You'll think about it in a minute. Thank you very much, everybody, for your contribution tonight. The show does not work without you. What's your opinion on switching the venue for the British GP to Bellevue on a brilliant racetrack rather than a temporary track where the racing isn't great? They haven't got enough space. It is my view on that.
That's the
Unfortunately,
problem. And to be fair, you go to Bellevue. There's not really a fat lot to do around the area as well.
No.
You know, Cardiff is right bang slap in the centre of the. And Cardiff was better last season. I will say that Cardiff was a lot better last season. So
there we go. Okie dokie. Thank you very much. We will hopefully see you all next week. Keep going to the Speedway. Enjoy your Speedway, and good luck to each and every one of your teams. Take care. Bye bye.
good night.
Good night.
Enjoy your city. GA. And men are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.